Sipho had 60,000 saved for emergencies. He could put it in a savings account or inside his home loan. One option earns him 6% per annum. The other secretly saves him thousands in interest. But there's a catch. The bank still controls the money. Hi, this is Lekgabo, the monistical nerd. Let's talk about whether your excess bond can double as your emergency fund. Let's go back to Sipho's story. So, Sipho just bought a house, a home in South Africa, in the northern suburbs of Johannesburg. The property price is 200,000. The interest rate is 10%. The term of the bond is 20 years, and the monthly installment is 1,928 approximately. He also has 60,000 saved as an emergency fund. Now, he asked a big question. Should I leave the 60,000 in a savings account, or should I put this 60,000 into my excess bond in the property? Firstly, let's understand how the bond really works. In Sipho's first month, the interest that he would pay would be 1,667. Therefore, out of his 1,928 monthly installment, 1,667 goes to interest. And only, I repeat, only 261 reduces his principal, which is his capital of the loan. Remember, earlier, in a bond, most of your payment goes towards your interest, not your balance or your capital. Only small amount of your payment reduces your capital. Now, let's look at what we can call a game changer. Sipho now makes a decision and he deposits his 60,000 emergency fund into the bond. The effective balance of his bond will now be 140,000, which is the 200,000, which is the capital or the value of the property minus the 60,000 of the emergency fund. But remember, even though he does that, his bond has what we call an excess bond. He can still be able to access his 60,000 rands that he put into the bond. In his first new month, his interest would be 1,167. If he's paying the same installment of 1,928, now 1,167 goes into interest and 761 reduces his principal or his capital. Before, in the first example, 261 was going to his principal or reducing his capital of the loan. But now that he put his emergency fund into the bond, 761 goes to the principal or reduces the capital of the bond. You can now see that more than double of the debt reduction with the same monthly payment, because previously he was reducing it by 261, but currently he's reducing it by 761, but by just putting 60,000 into his bond. Let's look at why does this work and what is the rationale about it. Now, the bond interest is calculated on the remaining capital. The lower the capital, the lower the interest, and the faster the debt reduction, which means the shorter the bond term. And that also means that you would have saved thousands and thousands in your money. Therefore, if an emergency happens, Sipho can still access his 60,000 that he put into the bond. But Sipho has to be careful. And in him being careful, he has to read his property or bond terms and conditions in a very, very detailed manner. Because at the end of the day, even though he is putting 60,000 rands into the bond, but the bank still control access of his money. So restrictions can apply. In some banks, The banks can request that you put a notice period if you want to withdraw that particular emergency fund that you have put in. The other thing is that discipline is very important. Frequent withdrawals reduce the interest saving benefit that Sipho would have. The other one is the liquidity risk. In a money savings account, the money or your funds are immediately available. But money in a bond, it is tied to a contract. The bank has its own terms and conditions, and if you didn't read those terms and conditions correctly, then that money might be tied in that bank account or in that bond. But also, what we can say, or what I can actually say here, is that it is better if you do this, you actually put your core emergency fund in it, not your operational fund, not your household fund. Now, before you follow Sipho's strategy, you must make sure that now you understand your bank's rules on excess bond withdrawals, and you must be disciplined. Don't keep withdrawing and redepositing and all that, because it defeats the purpose. Therefore, using your excess bond as a core emergency fund can quietly save you thousands over your life for your bond in terms of interest, and it can make you to be able to finish your bond much more faster. But you need to look at the terms and conditions of your bank. Remember, the content that is shared here is for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute a financial advice. Always consult a qualified financial advisor before making financial decisions. And the characters used in this content are fictional. They're very fictional. They're created to explain real-life financial situation for educational purposes. Follow, like, and subscribe to learn more about personal finance. Lekgabo, the moneyistical nerd, making money and sense not mysterious. Thank you.